Well, was there any better teacher or example than Jesus himself? No. Today we're going to be looking at the Golden Rule, and it was Jesus who taught this, and we call it the Golden Rule, but so we're going to see Jesus, the great teacher, show us how to practice this. And then I have a personal testimony that just happened to me last night that I want to share with you all concerning this. Thanks for joining the Amazing Grace Bible Study. Luke chapter 6, I'm going to start reading here in verse 27. Jesus said this, "But I say unto you which hear, love your enemies, do good to them which hate you." Notice that Jesus said, "I say to them, to you which hear." Not as though that the people weren't actually physically hearing. He was really speaking about those who were listening with their heart. Listening with intent to change, listening with an intent to get something from what he's sharing. And this passage is one of the most controversial passages inside of what the world teaches, because it is opposite of what the world narrative is, what Jesus taught, of how to treat other people. He goes on to say, "Bless them that curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you." So now he has said, love your enemies and do good to them that hate you. These are powerful words. Your enemies, those that hate you, and those that curse you, and those that despitefully use you, to bless them, to pray for them, to do good to them, and love them. That's what he has taught us here. But friends, he also was the example. He showed this by how he lived. Now think about what loving your enemies means. Think about doing good to those that actually hate you. You know, when people hate you, you can hear it with what they say, what they do, their actions. But it says to bless them that curse you. So people that out of their mouth, cursing comes out towards you. Jesus says, oh, bless them. Bless those that curse you. What does that mean? It means Jesus is teaching us to speak things for them, to have the intent to bless them, which is to edify them, to build them, that the words that come out of our mouth have the intent to help them, to lift them, while they have words that come out of their mouth towards us to break us. That's what they're trying to do. But there's something that happens when we live in the way that Jesus taught us to. Let's read on. Verse 29, it says, "And unto him that smiteth thee on one cheek, offer also the other, and him that taketh away thy cloak, forbid not to take thy coat also." So he says, if somebody smacks you on the cheek, just give them the other cheek. If somebody comes and takes your coat, give them your cloak also, which is, if they come to take something away, to steal it or to take it, just give them something extra. It says, "Give to every man that asketh of thee, and of him that taketh away thy goods, ask them not again." So if somebody comes and borrows something or takes something, don't ask for it back. If they return it, great. If not, don't ask for it back. This is contrary. All of this teaching here is contrary to the world narrative or the world view. Jesus, he lives differently. He lived differently. He teaches us to live differently. Verse 31, the Golden Rule says this, "And as ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise." Whatever it is that you would want people to do to you, that's how you treat them. No expectations from them. It's just whatever you would hope that they would do to you, that's how you treat them. period. That's what Jesus taught. Verse 32 says, for if ye love them which love you, what thank have ye? For sinners also love those that love them. And if ye do good to them which do good to you, what thank have ye? For sinners also do even the same. Jesus said, you know what he's saying? He's like, if you love people that are loving you back, he's like, the world does that. Sinners do that. If you do good to those who are doing good, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. You know, that kind of that cliche. Jesus is saying, that's the world does that. How are you any different? What thank have ye? What praise have ye? What reward really do you have if you're doing what everybody else is doing? He says, even the world does that. Even the world does things for other people, hoping for something in return. Look at this next verse. It says, and if ye lend to them of whom ye hope to receive, what thank have ye? For sinners also lend to sinners to receive as much again. So they're doing for people, hoping to get something in return or expecting to get something in return. Jesus says that's what the world does. That my people are not to live like the world. He's teaching them to live like himself. To give, expecting nothing in return. To give to those who don't deserve. He goes on to say this. Verse 35. But love ye your enemies, and do good, and lend, hoping for nothing again. And your reward shall be great. And ye shall be the children of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. And it would do us all really good to meditate on that, to consider that, to stew on that. For he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. That God even does good to those who are evil and are not even thankful. Didn't Jesus do this? When he paid their debt, when he paid the sin and the debt of the entire world, expecting nothing in return, in hopes, though, they would all receive the eternal reward that they can have. Look at verse 36 as our closing text. It says, be ye therefore merciful as your Father also is merciful. You know what mercy is? It's not giving people what they deserve. When people do you wrong, Jesus says, don't give them what they deserve back. Don't repay them a wrong back. He says, be merciful like your Father, your Heavenly Father. He is the example. Christ is the example. God is our example. He says, be ye therefore merciful as your Father also is merciful. It is not returning evil for evil. Jesus teaches us not to do this. When wrong is done to us, show mercy. Don't return wrong back. That's being someone who is showing mercy. That is what God does. That is how he teaches us to do. There is so much in these verses in Luke 6:27 through 36 that we can learn. We could have taken one verse and did an entire teaching, but today I want to take a focus on verse 31, even though that we kind of broke down all of these verses and spoke about them. I want to just look at verse 31 in closing today. It says, as ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise. Jesus teaches us to do to others what we would hope and want them to do to us. And there in verse 35, it says that if you love your enemies and you do good and you lend and hoping for nothing again, your reward shall be great. Your reward is going to be huge. There's going to be something recompensed to you. We can't go into it expecting though, that recompense, because that's exactly what he teaches us not to do. But he says to do good out of the goodness of our heart. That comes from him. It's a spiritual thing that's given to us. It's his love that's given to us by his Spirit. And when we do good and we love our enemies and we bless them that curse us and we pray for those who despitefully use us, those who are using, they're just constantly taking and sucking the life out of us. You know that you won't feel that the life is being sucked out of you if you are giving of spiritual. If you're giving of Christ's Spirit, it never runs out. There's even a verse in Psalm that says, he that watereth shall be watered also himself. So it's like a continual watering that you receive from the living water. If you're watering and you're giving of the living water, that spiritual water, you're going to be returned of that living water. So it's like a cycle continually going. He that watereth shall be watered also himself. But Jesus teaches us to do good, to love our enemies, to bless those that curse us, and to pray for those even that are our users. They're just using us. He says, pray for them. You know that in Scripture it teaches us that David was a man after God's own heart. And you know what David did when his enemies were sick? It says that David put on sackcloth and he fasted and he prayed for them while they were sick. That puts some insight and some perspective on how it is that God says David he was a man after God's own heart. Someone who would fast and pray for his enemy when they were sick. Friends, I don't know that I know anyone who's done that. But it's how our Father teaches us. He says, pray for those who use you. Pray for your enemies. Those that hate you, pray for them. Ask God to do something good for them. And that prayer may be that God would change their heart. That may be how you start. Like, Father, change their heart. That might be how you start, but you need to ask the Lord to do good things for them and pray for them. Pray that they come to know the Lord. Pray that they follow after God's words and after God's Spirit. Right? Pray for them. Pray that they come to know the Lord. I want to share with you all, though, today the great reward that I received last night in following the golden rule. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. So I was at one of those gift exchange parties, like a white elephant or a dirty Santa, and last night I had a high number. And you know, if you have a high number, you're one of the last people that you get to pick kind of what you want. And this was a big group. It was a women's Christmas party at a church that I went to, a family member. They always invite me to go to this. And I was over and at the church, and all of these gifts had been opened, and there was a lot of things that I liked. There was this one gift, though, that was at the bottom of my list. It was the gift that I least desired out of everything that was there. And there was this one gift that I was pretty set on, that's probably what I'm going to get. Nobody seems to want it, and that's what I want. And again, I had one of the later numbers, so I was assuming I would end up with the gift. But as I sat there and thought, there was this younger girl who had opened up this gift. It was the gift that I least liked. And she, even though didn't verbalize that she didn't like the gift, I knew that she didn't really want to have the gift. It was salt and pepper shakers. They were holiday salt and pepper shakers. And she didn't really want the gift. And so I was just thinking, well, if I take her gift, which again was the gift I least wanted, then she can go and pick something else. There's so many great gifts here. She will probably go and get some, one of these great gifts that's been opened up, and maybe even one of those gifts that once you take it, nobody else can take it back from you because it's already been taken several times. If you know how the game is played, you can only take that gift so many times, and there were several like that she could have taken some of these good gifts. So I took the gift. I ended up with this gift because nobody came and took it from me. And as I was sitting there with the gift, because you have to keep it out so other people can come and take it, you know, if that have a number in behind you, right? Because it starts with number 1. It just keeps, you know, going up to the highest number. And so I kept the gift out. And as I'm sitting there looking at the gift, I turn it up and I look at the bottom label. The bottom label says, made for Belk, Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, those of you who do not know me, immediately my soul was blessed beyond measure. That one label made that gift more valuable to me than anything in that room could have ever, anything. And I was not in North Carolina. I was in Kentucky at this church yesterday. But when I was raised, I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for many years, and I have good memories of going to that store a few times with my mother to Belk's in Charlotte, North Carolina. And those salt and pepper shakers, those holiday salt and pepper shakers came from that store. And how they ended up at a little church party in Kentucky yesterday was a God thing. And it just blessed me. And I mean, there was nothing else that I could have received more. But friends, it went beyond that. And so my mother has been gone for many years. We were very close. We were very close friends. She passed of breast cancer many years ago. And as I was sitting there and I looked at that label and I turned back the salt and pepper shakers up and I looked at them at the outside of that box, it was snowmen salt and pepper shakers, and my mom collected snowmen. And oh my goodness, I have been so blessed. So you can imagine, I will be using those salt and pepper shakers now every year. The Lord richly blessed me. He greatly blessed me. And so the truth of this passage, right? Do good. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Great will be your reward. I want to tell you, those salt and pepper shakers are going to, I don't know how many years that I may live. I don't know how many Christmases I may live. And then I had a daughter attend that Christmas party with me, that she may use these same salt and pepper shakers for years to come. I'm just telling you, great was the reward for me. Because it brought home to me. It brought my mother, you know, even though she wasn't there, she's been gone many years. That it just brought that presence at a holiday time, and remembering shopping at Belk's with Mom, and that box having come from Charlotte, North Carolina, from that store, it just blessed me to my core. And then to realize they were snowmen. I don't know why I didn't think about it, you know, at the time, even before realizing that, you know, where they came from. I'm just so blessed by it. But I want to tell you that God will richly and greatly bless you for doing what's right from your heart. And I would never have told that story. I was just going to take the gift from that girl, and I would never have told the story. I'm only sharing the story because of how the Lord returned something so great to me, emphasizing the truth of His word. Great is your reward when you follow after what He says. Do good to others. Follow the golden rule, whatever you want to call it. Do good to those even that hate you. This girl, she's not my enemy. She was just another young girl attending the party, right? But do good to other people. Treat other people how you want to be treated. Great will be your reward, even here and now. And sometimes you may not have that instantaneous blessing right back. But God did that for me last night. And what a treat that was. Well, thank you all so much for joining the Amazing Grace Bible study today. I hope today that you have gained something that has blessed you, and I hope that you will take these truths and live them, because I know that they will return a great reward for you as well. God bless you all.